Odds are at some point along your lifting journey, you suffer from injuries. Maybe that's from dropping a plate on your foot, or maybe that's from ignoring the signs of your body, from poor movement patterns or recovery that was once an acute issue and now it's a chronic pain. In this video, I'm going to offer you 5 of my favorite warm-up exercises and corrective movements to help build a better squat. Before we get started, I want to tell you how to incorporate these 5 exercises within your current training program. Some of them can be as simple as doing them in the warm-up movements. Others can be preparatory movements to do before squats or before some of your lifts. And then others can really be done either on active recovery days or during their own segments of accessory movements to help build muscle and move better. Now, in my case, a lot of these started out as corrective movements and rehabilitational movements after injuries such as quad tendonitis, knee pain in the squats, all of those things affecting the way I move, the way I lift, and even the way I felt during the day-to-day movements of getting up out of the bed. I really hope you guys find these movements helpful for your programming, your clients, as well as your health. And if so, leave a comment below, let me know what you liked about this, and be sure to hit that like and subscribe button for more. This first exercise is one that I use to test my clients and reassess them along their journey. Now we want to start first by making sure the lifter takes their shoes off. In this video, you see that the lifter has their shoes on, and sometimes it can mask what's actually happening. So we take the shoes off, we then make sure that they start about 3 inches or so away from the wall, and we simply keep the heel down. We try and take the knee straight forward into the wall. When we're doing that, we're gonna get a really quick response to see, A, are they feeling the loading and the stretching of the Achilles and the ankle? And then also, we can use the measurement between the toes and the wall as an objective way to measure their success and results over time, as well as determine if there's any asymmetries between the left and the right foot. Ideally, we'd like to be able to have someone have at least 2 to 3 inches away from the wall where they can keep their heel down and drive their toe forward into the wall. This exercise is called the Cossack Squat. And what's really great about this one is that it helps increase hip mobility as well as knee and ankle mobility while also reinforcing proper positions in the upper back. So when we start with this, we want to have the lifter start by having their feet wide. Now the width is going to be dependent on the length of the legs as well as the hamstring and adductor flexibility. But I typically will start about 5 to 6 feet apart with the toes slightly pointed open. The lifter is going to start by holding the weight in the front of the goblet squat, and that's going to really just help reinforce any counterbalance that they need to stay and find their balance, but also help them stay upright in a good posture. They're holding that position, and then they're going to shift over without standing up to the other side, making sure that the other leg is straight. They should feel a pretty good intense stretch in the high groin and in the adductor, and they might even feel some stretch and some tension in the hips, and this is a good indicator of that mobility down on the bottom of the squat, as well as stability that's needed later on. Some things to keep in mind with this is keep your heels down. You do not want to have your heel lifting up. We also don't want to have the hips themselves rotating as you shift side to side. The single leg step down or the pistol step down is a great exercise to help really bridge the gap between a lot of our mobility movements and then helping us increase stability through isometric and eccentric control. With this, you can use a plate, you can use a box, you can use a bench, and in this case, you're using a box. The higher the distance away from the floor, the greater the depth, the harder it is. The key here is that we want to start at the top of the box and we want to lower ourselves down under control, not making contact with the floor. The lower you go, the harder it gets. And then as we stand up, we want to make sure we're not making contact again with the box to really make sure we're always staying on one leg and challenging our unilateral abilities and our stability and balance. So in this, we want to make sure that just like in squats, if we have our knees collapse inwards, which is called valgus, we don't want that. So we want to make sure we keep our heel down, full flat heel. We want to make sure our toes stay into the floor, just like a claw. And we want to make sure that the knee tracks out over the toes, maybe the second or third toe on your foot, making sure it once again does not collapse inwards. This is a great exercise if you're looking to build unilateral strength, but maybe uncover some issues you may be having where one leg is compensating for the other and you maybe aren't addressing those issues in something like the squat, because the squat allows you to stand on 2 feet and sometimes the body can compensate to mask an issue. The heel elevated goblet squat with a mini band is one of my favorite squat variations either use as a priming movement for new clients or who maybe can't back squat, or even as a rehabilitation / accessory exercise to really reinforce proper positions in something like the high bar squat, specific to weightlifting, or just overall quad development. So in this one, we want to first start with the mini band. If you don't have it, that's not essential, but it is a bonus, right? What it does is it helps negate any knee valgus or knees collapsing inwards by firing up the glute medius. Next, when we place the feet, specifically the heels, on those plates, what that does is allows us to get greater degrees of knee flexion, and because the quad itself crosses the knee and is responsible primarily for knee extension, what that can do is it helps us really get that nice deep squat position, and then it also helps us increase quad activation. So in this exercise, you can see we want to start with the heels up on the edge of the plate, and we want to just descend slowly into our nice deep squat, keeping our heels down on the plates while also pushing through the toes in our nice upright vertical position. In this exercise, the shins and the back are going to roughly be parallel. We want to make sure we're not pushing our hips backwards and tipping us over into what looks more like a low bar squat patterning or a deadlift patterning. Now this exercise is a combo exercise. It's called the Kang Squat, K-A-N-G, Kang Squat. What it is you will place the bar on your upper back like you would a back squat, and you're gonna do a good morning exercise. So in the good morning exercises, your shins stay vertical, it's a lot of hips going back, and it's really felt in the hamstrings and in the back and glutes. Now, when you're in that position, you're then gonna sit down into the full squat. So as your butt drops, your chest comes up and your heels stay planted on the floor. And then you're gonna reverse that and you'll come back up. Now, this exercise is great to help people learn the difference between a very hip hinge-like squat and a very knee dominant squat. So it takes you from both extremes throughout the range of motion. You can also do this, and when you're dropping into the squat, you can pull the knees open to help sit yourself down in the proper squat position, making sure that they're not collapsing inwards with the knees. I like doing this exercise with the empty barbell, even for somebody who squats hundreds of pounds. It's just a great warm-up, but you can also start programming this in warm-ups with, say, 15 to 25% of your max for 20 to 30 second, just nice and controlled reps. I don't suggest going too heavy with this because this is an exercise that is really meant for movement purposes. So I do not recommend doing this with heavy weights, and it's really not going to be used to build muscle as much as it is to build better mechanics to allow you to build more muscle with our muscle building movements like squats, front squats, leg presses, all that stuff. And there you have it. Those are my 5 top warm-up exercises that you can do to build a better squat, a deeper squat, and a stronger squat, whether that's for optimal muscle development, whether that's for weightlifting, or just to stay pain-free. Make sure you guys subscribe below. Let me know any comments that you guys have about this video or anything you want to hear about in the future.